The first thing that hits you in a royal crisis is rarely the facts. It's the feeling, the sensation that something has shifted behind the gates, that the machinery of the state has paused, that the calm you were sold has cracked. In late 2025, that feeling has been weaponized into a genre. Breaking news from Buckingham Palace, stitched into clips. Layered over dramatic music, stamped with precise times 11:45 a.m. Just moments ago, the confirmation we feared, but the palace is not TikTok. It does not publish health revelations on a schedule designed for engagement. And that mismatch between the internet's hunger for immediacy and the monarchy's obsession with control is where the story becomes dangerous. Because when millions of people are emotionally primed, a false certainty can travel faster than a true update. So let's begin where responsible reporting begins, with what can be verified. Catherine, Princess of Wales' health story is real, documented, and already grave enough without a single invented catastrophic update. In January 2024, Kensington Palace announced she had undergone planned abdominal surgery and would remain out of public duties for an extended recovery period, emphasizing privacy and as much normality as possible for her children. Then, on March 22, 2024, Catherine released a personal video message confirming she had been diagnosed with cancer and was in the early stages of preventative chemotherapy. She explicitly said the surgery had been successful, but post-operative tests found cancer had been present, an explanation that cut through weeks of speculation and made one thing clear: this was not a palace PR problem. This was a family crisis. By September 9, 2024, she announced she had completed chemotherapy, describing the past months as incredibly tough and saying her focus was doing what she could to stay cancer-free, while cautioning that recovery would take time. That language is not casual. It's deliberately realistic. It acknowledges progress without promising certainty. And then, in January 2025, something significant happened. Catherine publicly stated that it was a relief to be in remission. And the royal family's official website documented her visit to the Royal Marsden Hospital, where she had received treatment, and the announcement that she and Prince William would become joint patrons of the Royal Marsden NHS Foundation Trust. That is not rumor. That is a published institutional record. So when a viral script claims Buckingham Palace just confirmed an unexpected and deeply concerning turn in late 2025, an extended intensified protocol and an indefinite period await immediately collides with the verified record we can still see publicly. In fact, recent reputable coverage in December 2025 shows Catherine making an unannounced appearance connected to the Royal Marsden Cancer Charity's Ever After Garden, emphasizing gratitude and remembrance, again framed around her remission status. Not a new emergency declaration. That doesn't mean everything is simple. Remission is not a fairy tale ending. It means a phase of recovery and monitoring. It means a new normal that patients describe as emotionally complicated, relief mixed with fear, strength mixed with fatigue. But it does mean this, there is no verified palace announcement, as of today, December 21, 2025, matching the viral narrative of a sudden catastrophic turn announced this morning at 11:45, and that raises the real investigative question. If the facts are publicly available, why do these confirmation we dreaded scripts keep spreading? Because the modern information environment has learned how to exploit institutional boundaries. The monarchy, by design, does not provide continuous medical updates. It communicates in carefully spaced increments, using language that can be defended legally, understood emotionally, and controlled strategically. That style of communication is not an accident. It is the monarchy's survival mechanism. When Kensington Palace says updates will only be provided when there is significant new information, it's not only requesting privacy, it's trying to prevent the palace from being dragged into a running medical commentary where every scan becomes a headline and every treatment cycle becomes a stock ticker. But in the algorithm era, that boundary becomes a vulnerability. Because silence creates space and space gets filled. If the palace doesn't narrate every day, The internet will dot and the internet will narrate it in the language that performs best. Certainty, urgency, fear, and the promise of secret knowledge. This is the same psychological trap that drives wartime propaganda. Not, here are the facts, but here is what they don't want you to know. Once a population is primed to distrust institutions, any gap in information becomes proof of concealment. That doesn't mean concealment is happening. It means the perception of concealment is now a commodity. Royal health is uniquely vulnerable to that dynamic because it combines three destabilizing forces. First, high emotional investment. Millions of people feel they know Catherine not personally, but symbolically. When a symbol of stability is threatened, it touches anxieties that have nothing to do with monarchy. Fear of illness, fear of loss, fear of a family falling apart. Second, institutional opacity. The palace cannot and will not disclose medical specifics like cancer type, stage, or exact treatment plan. That privacy is ethically normal in any family, but in a monarchy it collides with public expectation. Third, a history of media trauma. Prince William's approach to protecting his family is shaped by a childhood lived under a lens that devoured his mother. The monarchy understands that uncontrolled coverage can become a force of harm, so it controls. But control itself invites suspicion when the audience is conditioned for constant updates. Now, here's what makes this story more than just royal gossip. When misinformation spreads at scale around a constitutional monarchy, it doesn't only affect celebrity curiosity, it affects the state's credibility. It affects diplomatic optics. It affects the stability of a national symbol at a moment when Britain is already navigating political and economic uncertainty. That's why the palace's words are engineered the way they are. And it's why the wording matters more than people realize. When Catherine said in September 2024 that she had completed chemotherapy, she did not say, "I am cured." When she said in January 2025 that she was in remission, she also said she remained focused on recovery and adjusting to a new normal. These phrases are designed to be truthful without pretending certainty exists. The internet hates that kind of nuance, because nuance doesn't spike watch time. Because in the modern monarchy, words aren't just words. They're instruments. They're shields. They're pressure valves. And when you don't understand how that language is engineered, you end up living inside the internet's version of events instead of the institution. Single quotes s. Start with the most important fact the palace has repeated quietly, consistently, and at great cost to itself. They will not narrate private illness like a public television series. From the beginning, Kensington Palace has communicated Catherine's health with a doctrine of minimal disclosure. In January 2024, the palace gave broad facts: planned surgery, successful outcome, long recovery, and then drew a boundary: updates only with significant new information. Privacy for family, normality for the children. That wasn't just a request. It was the frame. And as we saw, the internet punished the frame for not feeding it. This boundary language is part of the official January 2024 communications that set expectations. As covered widely by major outlets at the time, then came March 2024. The moment the palace realized the boundary alone would not hold. Catherine spoke directly on video and confirmed cancer and preventative chemotherapy. That video did more than update the public. It reasserted control over the narrative by replacing reported by with spoken by. And then this is where most people miss the real story. The palace began communicating in medically cautious language that is designed to be honest without being definitive. Look at September 2024. Catherine announced chemotherapy had ended, and she described the path ahead as long. She did not say cured. She said her focus was staying cancer-free. The Guardian's coverage emphasized exactly that wording. And the significance: a patient is not typically considered cancer-free in the medical sense until years of clear follow-ups. That's not pessimism. That's realism. Now fast forward to the next truly load-bearing statement. January 22/5. Catherine visited the Royal Marston, where she received treatment and publicly described herself as in remission. calling it a relief and explaining that recovery means adjusting to a new normal. ITV reported the statement and quoted her directly. That phrase, new normal, is one of the most psychologically honest things you'll ever hear from a public figure in a health crisis, because it tells you the part the cameras don't capture. Remission is not a return to the old life. It is learning to live in a different one. So why does the internet still keep producing scripts that claim the palace confirmed a devastating turn in late 2025? Because the palace's communication doctrine slow, sparse, carefully worded creates two things at once. 1, protection for the family. 2, a permanent information vacuum that opportunists can monetize. In war reporting, there's a rule: if you don't control the map, someone else will draw it for you. And their map will always serve their interests. That's what's happening here. A rumor script will take one true element: Catherine had cancer treatment, and then attach invented specifics to make the story feel official. Precise time, 11:45 a.m. A named room, press office released. Insiders said, emergency meetings, late November scans, indefinite intensified protocol. It's not that those words are impossible. It's that they are not verifiable, and the monarchy's structure makes it easy to fake plausibility because there are multiple channels: Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, Royal.uk, and the public often doesn't know which office publishes what. When a rumor says Buckingham Palace confirmed Catherine's worsening, many people don't pause to ask, why would Buckingham issue a Wales family medical update rather than Kensington? In practice, Catherine's health updates have been carried through Kensington statements and her own messages. While Buckingham has issued statements about the King's health, for example, its January 29, 2024 statement announcing Charles was discharged after planned treatment and would reschedule engagements for recovery. That distinction is crucial. So here's the field manual. Way to read royal health stories. The way you would read a communique in any high-stakes environment. ###. 1. The palace uses signal phrases on purpose. Significant new information means we are not feeding a daily cycle. Gradual return means appearances may happen, but the schedule is not stable. Focused on recovery means responsibilities will be selective and health-driven. Remission means a positive phase, but not a guarantee. When a viral script uses extreme language, more aggressive than initially believed, fighting for her life, indefinite period. Unexpected turn. The test is simple. Did any reputable outlet attribute that phrasing to an official statement? If not, it's theater. ###2. Real palace updates are boring by design. This sounds counterintuitive, but it's how institutions survive. Palace updates aim to reduce speculation without feeding it, show dignity without giving private detail, communicate hope without promising certainty. That's why verified updates often read restrained, not cinematic. ###3. The strongest evidence is official plus corroborated. A real change in status, especially a major deterioration, doesn't remain only on TikTok. It appears in a Royal.uk news page or Kensington Comes. And then Reuters, BBC, ITV, Sky, AP follow with attribution. For example, Catherine's remission statement was widely reported with direct quoting and context. Now, look at what actually happened in December 2025. Instead of a catastrophic withdrawal, reputable coverage shows Catherine making a private visit tied to cancer charity work. ITV reported that she visited the Ever After Garden in Duke of York Square, Chelsea, a display of 30,000 illuminated roses raising funds for the Royal Marston Cancer Charity. She met volunteers, dedicated a rose, and left a message signed C, describing the garden as an illumination of shared love, remembrance, and hope. Town and Country and other outlets framed the visit as connected to the hospital where she received treatment, and they referenced her remission status in the same breath. This is not a woman being erased from public view indefinitely in a sudden emergency announcement. This is a public figure carefully choosing limited engagements aligned with her experience and recovery precisely. The gradual return structure. Kensington had signaled earlier. So the real narrative in late 2025 is not the palace confirmed the worst. The real narrative is something both more subtle and more modern. Asterisk, asterisk, the monarchy is trying to reintroduce Catherine to public life in controlled, symbolic ways while the internet continues to treat every gap as proof of catastrophe, asterisk, asterisk. And this matters beyond gossip because it reveals how fragile institutional legitimacy becomes when the public no longer trusts incremental truth. Once that trust breaks, even good news is interpreted as cover-up. And even routine privacy is interpreted as conspiracy. That's the strategic vulnerability, because a constitutional monarchy isn't only a family, it's a symbolic stabilizer. When people believe the institution is hiding something, they don't just mistrust the palace. They mistrust the idea of continuity itself.